All right, everybody. I have Coach with me. We'll start with questions in person. Go ahead, Jack.
Just in the playoffs, it feels like it's a lot more important when you can steal 2 or 3 or 4 minutes with throwing a specialist out there to exploit a certain matchup. Just how do you feel the team chemistry is at leading into the playoffs to be able to do that and not only survive but really thrive in those 2, 3, 4 minute stretches?
Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable with the language that you're saying. I'm not talking about playoffs right now. We're not thinking about playoffs right now. We are thinking about, we have 2 games on the road and we're a 500 team on the road. And we don't want to be 500 when this thing is finished. So we're locked in on that. In general, you talk about the chemistry of our team. And I just told the team before this practice that one of the things I was most pleased with was how we engaged with one another on the floor. I thought our communication was really good early in the game. I thought we were connected in what we were doing. And then most importantly, because we were up early, it's easy to do that. And like we talked about that. But when we got down in that third quarter, we got beat by 12. And the game was, all the way through, you had to make plays. How we treated each other and how we responded in those moments was my biggest takeaway in the game. That obviously comes with chemistry and gelling with one another.
And then it really felt like in that last game especially that you weren't really running very many plays at all. It kind of felt like,
It may have looked like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true. I thought game 1 that was true.
Yeah.
But not game 2, it was not.
But it just felt like in a sense that Crystal and AP were receiving more, ball screens and handoffs, and that there was more read and reacting going off.
Yeah, some of those were play calls. Most of AP's ball screen action that I can remember in game 2 was play calling, to put her in those situations. Even Crystal, I thought the stuff that she was getting was out of an action. So if you look at our sorter of play calls in game 1 and game 2, you're going to see a drastic difference. I thought we had a more concerted effort to get specific plays and try to get the ball exactly where we wanted. And so I thought the games were different in that way. Now, when we were making plays, when it was going back and forth, some of those were off of broken plays, off of an O board, that sort of thing. But I would say overall, it was not as free as it was in the first game.
But you feel good about where your team is playing unscripted as opposed to maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
I think we can play both. I think we're better when we're unscripted. But if you're taking the ball out of the net, you're going to be more scripted.
Yep.
And so that was definitely the case there in the third and a lot in the fourth.
What was Lay able to do today?
Lay was limited, but back. I don't know. Lay spends more time with the trainers and doing things, and then we wanted, because we just kind of wanted to get Lay a feel again about the role in the offense, the timing. So we were able to steal a few minutes, not a full practice by any stretch.
Will she need to get a full practice in before she plays again?
I don't know if that's going to be doable in this situation. A stress reaction, we probably don't want to do that. Lay might be capable of doing that,
right?
But that's not where we want to spend.
And they've known each other. I mean, it's not like it's going to be hello. This
right.
They played together.
Yeah, but for sure. But we've a couple weeks in this league is a lot, and when games go by, because things shift. Play calling changes, little nuances that we might add or subtract. So it definitely is more beneficial. It would be great if I could have Lay in every single practice this week, but it's not happening. The mindset is, if Lay can move towards being able to play minutes in the game, great.
Right.
But we certainly, want to be smart about it.
So there is a chance that she could get at least a few minutes on Friday.
Sure. Yeah. Things.
You want to get her some minutes before the playoffs start.
Yeah, that's ideal, but I don't think that should be the priority. It's like anybody that has an injured player. You'd like them to get some reps before, if you're in a single elimination game. It's not the ideal time to be knocking off rust.
What is Sylvia better at now than she was when she came here in 2015?
Wow. I think her footwork. I think her finishing at the rim. I think a lot of teams, I remember, you almost never doubled Sil back in 2015. It was always single coverage. So her back to the basket moves weren't something that people felt like you needed 2 people for. Since 2017, all Sil has seen is double teams because she improved her footwork, her positioning. She's making moves around people, faking, coming back. So her footwork, I think, with the ball and finishing would definitely come to mind.
How often does a veteran add something to their game that significant 8 years in?
Well, I think it might happen a fair amount just because you're so much older and wiser and you understand the why. When you're younger, you don't quite understand. You haven't seen enough defenses. Your experiences aren't as rich as they are when you're 8 years in. So I've seen a lot of players not improve 8 years in after, having the knowledge. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway is that, great players tend to keep getting better. And I'm sure, Sue at the age of 40 probably is adding something to her game.
Right.
That's what the great ones do.
You mentioned Sue, Diana. There have been players who have maintained a very high level of play for a very long time. She's mid-30s now. And she's playing mega minutes. She's carrying the team at times. Carrying players almost literally at times.
Yeah.
Is that extraordinary to you?
It is.
The fact that there hasn't been much give back in terms of her game?
Yeah, because of, to what your point is, how physical the game is. Typically for bigs, the pounding is greater. So your own, torque on your knees when you're running up and down, the position that Sil plays, how Sil plays, the physicality. Yeah, because you know what, players, and Planette and, Brunson talked to me about it, like it gets hard, when you get to be a certain age to want to go in there and do that. And so, I recognize it. But if, when Sil's at practice, if you come to practice, Sil does the same things at practice that she does in a game.
Has the defense been fairly steady? She was always great defensively.
Yeah.
She was 2-time player of the year before you even got her. The way the fact they used to deny passes was to watch. She still does that. I was watching that kind of specifically the other night with Kira.
Yeah.
That's always been there?
Always been there. Yeah. Once she knows that's what, when she got here and that was our scheme, that was right in her wheelhouse in what we call fighting the post, making catches difficult. In Sil's case, it's not even making them difficult, it makes them impossible. And that's the way that Brunson played. When you keep a great player from catching it, you have a better chance of getting a stop. And so she takes great pride in that. And then I think her help side defense and alertness and her pick and roll defense.
Maybe that's gotten better.
I think it's gotten better. That's where I was going to go with it. I think her pick and roll defense and her help side. Yeah, very, very in tune to not just what's happening on this side and guarding her player, but her team defense. Really good.
The block numbers are so up.
Yeah. And a lot of those are in help, where she's in help.
Last question on Sil. Of this current team that you have here, who do you think she has impacted the most as a player and as a person?
Probably Fee. I'd say Fee. I think she has a great impact on everyone, but that's probably the first one because they spend a lot of time together and Fee looks up to her and looks to her for in many, many situations, both on and off the court.
Yeah, I saw the picture that you guys took before the game, and which was posted, I think, by you guys. She was on Sil's back.
Was she? Yeah. Fee's, came right in as a rookie and just understood, sometimes rookies come in and they look at the vets and they're like, you're old, I know more than you type thing. And, Fee has absorbed and embraced, just all that Sil brings to the table.
Last question, everybody else available today?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go last question to Danny.
Sorry, Danny.
On the Zoom.
That's why we're standing in front of him.
No worries. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about what AP's energy brings to practice. We've talked a lot about her hype in that game situation, but what does that bring into practice situation?
Exactly what you would think. Sometimes practices can be a little more mundane if you're doing the same things, but never if AP is around is anything mundane. The simple things that you want as a coach to celebrate your successes, AP does that. She recognizes what those moments are that need to be celebrated, and she's always there for you. There's never been a day that she took energy and not gave energy. Never been a day of that.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
All right, see ya.
I'm actually really interested to see how she and Lane play instead of advance with each other.
Lane AP.
Yeah. You would think that they would fit very, very well.
Danny, we'll have Leja and Bridget coming in. I think we're going to have Leja coming up right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
She loves it.
We're
supposed to be off.
All right, ladies, and we have one person on Zoom, so we'll start with questions in person.
First of all, it's good to see two sneakers.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach,
nice.
Coach said that the best case scenario is you're able to play some minutes on Friday. But it's kind of weird because usually somebody coming back, we want to push them through a hard practice before they do that, but they don't want to do that with you. I mean, I guess how do you reacclimate yourself without actually being able to do a whole practice?
I don't know. I'm learning on the fly. I've never been dealt with this injury before, so it is kind of a mental battle and obviously physical being back out there. So just trying to take it one moment at a time. I'm a super high IQ, like visual player. So in terms of like remembering plays and stuff, I'm not worried about that. But of course, you know, then you get out there in the speed of the game, you know, if I trip over my feet or I turn the ball over 3 times, I'm just going to be like, take me out.
So you've never really played big minutes with AP, for example. That was new, right?
I know. I think we played the Chicago game.
Yeah.
Yeah. We literally keep flip-flopping. So she's talked to me about that. We're super excited. She's a player that can kick the ball up to in the wing and can get to the rim, bring so much energy. So looking forward to that. It's all about coming back and peaking at the right time for any team, you know, is battling injuries throughout the year.
Talk about how the rehab has gone for you. I mean, I don't even know what you can do. Is it basically just a rest thing more than anything? Or I don't know if you get stimmer for that or what, but I mean, what a weird thing to kind of crop up after having some time off, huh?
Yeah, I know. I don't know the rhyme or reason for it. I just keep saying I'm getting old, so maybe it's that. Maybe it's just timing. Never dealt with it in my career, so I've been really fortunate, really healthy. So yeah, just doing some stem. It's really about keeping all the other muscles firing too. You don't want to come back and all of a sudden your hamstring or your calf because you've just been out. So it's really trying to keep my strength up, keep my conditioning on the bike and the pool and any kind of non-impact ways I can. Because then, you know, when you get in the game, you don't want to have those little things pop up.
I wanted to ask you a question about Sil. You've talked many times about how you'd never been able to play with a dominant center before. That's kind of more X's and O's, but just as a person, what have you noticed about her and the way she kind of manages this team as a leader?
I love Sil. She's just the heartbeat in so many ways, and you know, kind of the mama. And she's super fun and silly, and you know, has a lot of experience. So that you can't coach or teach experience, and she has that. And we look to her in the huddles when you know we're doing our pre-practice, all of our little things that like I'm not doing on the court in terms of like calling this play. It's all Sylvia, and she's the one leading us there. And so she's the backbone of our team, and she means a lot. I'm going to miss her. I know she's getting later in her career, so I value and cherish, you know, every second, every practice, every game, and the fact that I get a chance to play with literally one of the best to ever, you know, put on a uniform.
You know, I think that if I'm not mistaken, you played your first game having just gone through a shoe run, right?
Yes, I think so. Connecticut? Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to think if there was a moment where you were like, oh man, this is like totally different.
Playing with Sil?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely that first week. I don't remember. My mind was totally spinning that first, you know, couple games. But I definitely remember being in practice and just getting those chances to play with her, especially when people are playing her certain ways. That I'm like, are you really just going to let me like throw the ball into her? Like it's practice. But obviously she does the work to get that positioning, to get those layups. But in that way, when she does it, it feels so easy for my ends. I feel like I'm just slinging the ball in there. And she has amazing hands and can catch it. So that's to me. I've played with post players who've had good hands before. I've played with, you know, like a John Cole Jones who could shoot it, who's obviously really good. Played with Tamika Catchings, who's like an undersized 4, but I've never played with that just like 5 back to the basket. I'm going to bury you, and I could just throw the ball into her. So in that way, it's mind blowing every game. And when I have those moments when I see her, especially when I've been watching on the sideline these last couple weeks, it's just like she'll just runs in there out of nowhere, does something that people just can't do. That like it's very unique to her.
Well, last question. I mean, you have played with Tamika, one of the all-time greats, not only as a player but as a leader. I mean, she willed that team through so much.
Yeah.
You know, do you see similarities there in style? I mean, it would seem like Sil might be a little quieter, or no? I mean, Tamika always seemed like a very rah-rah type. I mean,
yeah, very different styles. I'd say both, you know, effective leaders. There's a lot of different kind of leadership styles. The Catch was definitely more like, you know, aggressive, get on you in the moments where that, and Sil is more, I would say, she is quieter, but then when she does pick her times to talk, you really listen. And I think it's hard to be. Catch was kind of what a 3-4. She was a 4 who brought the ball up when I played with her. And it's different to lead from a post position because still can't just dribble the ball up one play and be like, send me a screen, I'm taking over. Whereas like Catch could do that at times. So it's really hard, I think, to lead from that 5 spot because there's games where you want to take over, but like you rely on other people to get you the ball. And I think that's really different. But we have great conversations off the court and about her, she's really effective. I just love her and she's really relational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jack, go ahead.
Just from a progression standpoint and a mental standpoint, how helpful has it been to have someone like Sil, who obviously missed a lot of time last year with her nagging injury, and someone like AP, who's gone through it and has now successfully kind of been, reinserted into the lineup and done really well. Just how helpful has it been for you to kind of be able to have people that kind of know what it's like to be in the shoes that you're in?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say AP this year when she'd come back off that hamstring and then freaking does whatever she did to her thumb that game. Just empathy for people get how hard it is. And I remember seeing her on the other court, like I was sprinting today after we finished. She was the one doing that and just having that empathy really for someone who knows what it's like to go through that, because you can't, like willing it away or like give me a hug one day, but it's just it's just a grind and it's really hard and you're on the bike and you're trying to stay engaged. And when you get back, it might be a little choppy. Who knows how the flow will go, but just knowing that you can get into it. And, we got a few games left and hopefully Vegas drops those 2 and we could get to that 2 spot. There's a lot of different moving parts, but it's just helpful to know people have empathy. And, like I posted on Instagram yesterday, we just have really good people here. And that's always nice when you're going through things to have those kind of supportive people around you.
Absolutely. And then just as someone who plays so physically when you're out there going at, defenders both on the perimeter, but also too when you get into the lane, just kind of what is it like simulating the physicality of your game in terms of ramping back up, or is that really something that you can't understand how you're going to react to until you're actually in a live game?
Yeah, like today I drove and I went middle and I was like, scored a layup and everyone was cheering. It's funny. And that was fine. It's just like trusting yourself. I've only been out 2 weeks too, so I'm really grateful. It's been a short time. It's not like 3 months when I had my ankle surgery and you really have to like kind of relearn and cut for the first time on a new stable ankle like when I had surgery. So in that way, I think it's a much minor injury and there's not as much to overcome in that way.
Your body in that sense isn't lost.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Cheryl's talked about at length too about how there's been times where she's been frustrated because other players haven't really been able to help you and kind of had to dribble the ball or kind of been stuck with a grenade at the end of the shot clock. And having someone like AP now back into the lineup, just how helpful is it going to be really to have another person who can create their own offense and take some of that dribbling and playmaking load off?
It'll be awesome. I can't wait. I'll let you know when I get back. But yeah, that's what AP can do. I think the last game, she grabbed the ball and called like horns and ran the point guard spot. And I was hyping her up and I was like, yes, like someone else who's, everyone has their different skill set and that's what she brings. Sometimes you just need another playmaker. And I think that's where we were really missing that with her. And just, again, hopefully you get the timing with all the pieces back to peak at the right time.
No, I don't remember if it was the New York game, the last New York game or the last Seattle game, but Cheryl was just screaming, break the play.
Yeah.
Everybody seemingly the whole
LA
entire first half. And since that time, it's felt like the team has looked much better when a play is broken down or things have just been unscripted from the start, even though you haven't been playing the whole time. Just as a point guard, kind of what has your view been of how the team is done and how different do you think it is now compared to maybe even just a few weeks ago?
I think it's done amazing. I think we're 5-1, 6-1 or something since I've been out. 5-1, yeah. We've done a phenomenal job, and I think what my injury did was free up some space for other people to like have to get out of their comfort zone and even try something new, like K-Mac's ability to get to the rim. Like she can do that, but with me there and her being more of a shooter before, she wasn't really forced to. And now when I was out, she like had to be the person to drive to the basket. But we've kind of seen more what people can do, and I think it's cool. That's sometimes what injuries do is they force other people to step up in different ways. And I think that's helped our team grow a lot and break those kind of plays and know that they can't just look at me dribbling the ball and expect that. So in that way, I think it's amazing, and we're only going to get better. And again, get all those pieces back. We've grown, we've learned, and then see what happens when you come together.
Well, and just in terms of confidence too, I think that we've seen throughout the whole season, player AP has said that even when she did play early in the year, she had to play a different role. Crystal's role has really fluctuated. Same with Rachel. Just how important do you think that that's been for building players' confidence now when it's really high leverage playing the rest of the season? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I think it's big. I mean, like you have to have opportunity to step in and do it, and then you kind of realize you can do it. Like AP played the point guard that one. Is she going to play point guard the whole game? No. Does she want to? Probably not. She's like, it's really hard. I hate it. But that she can do it when she needs to. And I think that's the balance of like, it's not her full position, but when we need her to do it, she has the confidence. K-Mag realizes she has the confidence. Like, I can go to the rim 2-footed, finish and get bumped and score a layup. And Fee kind of, she always just has to be all everything, every game, play all the minutes, consistent person. And Bridget's had to step up and play out, the biggest changes in roles, I think, throughout this year, where she's been a starter. She's been at the end of the game with 2 minutes, hits a 3, I think, in New York, and a couple of those games to help us win. So the confidence is a big part of it. You have like the ability, and then you have that side of it that says like, do I believe I can do it when I get out there? And those are the games where you need a bench to win a championship. You can't go deep in any type of run if you don't have players who can come in and step up. And as we know in this league, injuries can happen. I don't know how many minutes I can play, and like we're gonna need every single person. We lost Dee Dee. That's a big hole that I think you just see the ripple effect of what she can do with her spacing, with her defense, with her tenacity out there that we really miss too.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it. The person on the Zoom had to leave us. So,
Danny.
Danny's gone.
I mean, because they play there all.
I don't know. I always thought that's where they played. But
All right, guys, it's just you two with us, so we'll start with questions.
Go ahead, Jim.
oh, I was just going to ask. Cheryl's talked a lot about in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, especially getting off scripted and just playing free. Just what are your thoughts on how you guys have been doing that of late compared to earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think as the season goes along, teams know each other so well that, the good teams or the teams that are playing well at the end of the season are the ones that can play unstructured because everyone knows everyone's plays, everyone's players. They know the scouts so well. So it's those teams, and we've prided ourselves in, breaking plays to make plays, and, yeah, we call a play, but what is defense giving us? How are we going to score? Because it might not be directly in that play. And I think we've done an okay job, learning to play together, obviously with some injuries, and positionally we're kind of shifted around a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're having fun and moving the ball. And I think that's how all of us like to play, is kind of free and just intuition and things like that.
And do you think that with players kind of playing different roles or things they haven't always been accustomed to doing, at least at the WNBA level, do you think that it's really helped players kind of add more, spots or actions that they're comfortable operating in, and feel that, if something breaks down, you have, more tools in your toolkit to kind of call or run really quickly to get a basket?
Yeah, for sure. I think me speaking for myself, a coach has given me the confidence to, whatever is open, take it. If it's an open 3, take it. If it's put it on the ground, get to the pull up, take it. If it's get to the rim and, make plays from there, do that too. And transition out of a half court set, we all have the freedom to do kind of anything the defense gives us. And, that challenges us as offensive players, but also, it leads to good basketball and makes it easier for everyone else when everyone's able to do everything. So it's fun to play that way. And, we're all growing as players by doing that.
And then defensively, we don't see very often that there's somebody that's much bigger than Sylvia Fowles down there, making it difficult for her.
Yeah.
And she really doesn't need a whole lot of help from either corner or the wing spots most of the time. But in a situation like that where, she's having a little bit of difficulty sealing somebody like McCowan off, just, how much does that challenge you guys, and how much does that help you prepare for somebody maybe like a Liz Cambage that you might see in the playoffs?
Yeah, sure. I think, Syl changes the game defensively so much. And when, I think, she's fine one-on-one against anyone. I take Syl any time of the day, Syl against anybody. But it's when she has to help on, an attack. If a guard gets beat and she has to, help over, and then we have a big mismatch, even more when we're trying to help down, or, things like that, when Syl's such a good help side defender. On top of her, obviously, post defense one-on-one, her being able to just disrupt everything. But then, the mismatch is even bigger if she does get half a step off of, McCowan, who's big and dominant in the paint. That's where we kind of find ourselves a little bit mismatched. But we're doing the best we can. Syl's obviously, she's the best defender in the league, and I think she does a pretty good job regardless.
When you see somebody like Syl who's in their mid-30s, there's no discernible drop-off from that I've seen since she got here in 2015. Do you ever just go, what's going on here?
Every day. I'm like, she's unbelievable. Some of the plays she makes, just amazes me. And it's amazing to be your teammate and see what she can do every day. When you throw the ball to her, you know she's going to catch it no matter where you throw it. Any pass is a good pass because she makes you look good because she can go and get it. But it's not just that. I think, you know, she does so many great things offensively, whether it's, you know, obviously she has her great reverse layups, pivoting through 3 defenders, but it's also like her setting great screens, her picking and rolling, drawing so much help defenders, and then we're getting open shots on the perimeter. Her defense obviously speaks for itself, on the ball, off the ball, helping. It's amazing what she can do. It's fun to watch and be so up close and personal.
Coach says sometimes during practice she'll have to say, "Sil, you got to let the pass come in. We're practicing against this play. You got to let them complete the pass." Like she has to tell her to back off a little bit when you're running opponent stuff. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, she gets, obviously our defense, we like to deny, we like to get up in pressure, and Sil is so good at it that, you know, our scout team guys can't even get through a play where we're trying to learn and guard the scout team or what the other team's going to do. And yeah, sometimes she has to like let off a bit just because we are trying to get through the full play defensively.
Last question. You came here 2 years ago. At the time we didn't know a lot about you. What did you find with Sil as far as a teammate and a leader? Did she reach out to you right away? Because she kind of has a reputation of being kind of the mama of the team. What was your first impressions of her?
Yeah, I think my first day on the job, first time I met Sil, she gave me a great big hug and like welcomed me to the team. And, you know, from that day forward, I know how welcomed I was here and how accepted I was here and how people, you know, wanted me to be here. And Sil's the head of that. And she, you know, welcomes everyone with open arms. She's just the sweet, we call her Sweet Sil for a reason. She's such a kind person, and we all feed off that energy, and she's easy to like. She's a very easy to like teammate.
Thank you.
I just have a couple more just about AP specifically. Like Cheryl said too, that, you know, AP is somebody who, you know, as a teammate might take a little bit more time to get used to because she can create her own offense, and sometimes you just kind of need to, you know, let the chef cook. You know, and she's caught the ball in a one-on-one. Like as a role player who plays off the ball predominantly, just how has that adjustment been, and how do you feel, you know, other role players are kind of adjusting to that as well?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Just like Cheryl said, a different player that we have that's able to, you know, create by herself. So sometimes we feel like the ball might be getting stuck, or like usually we're used to pass, drive, kind of in the flow of the offense. But when AP can, you know, break down her own defender without the help of anybody else, it's a luxury, and it's nice to have someone that can do that on the floor. But it is an adjustment mentally, and just we have to figure out, which I think we're doing a good job of, the spacing, what space she needs, when is a good time for her to do that, when do we need her to create her own offense, and then by doing that, she's creating offense for other people. And I mean, we're adjusting. She's fun to play with, and obviously practice time has been good, and we're getting into the rhythm of it.
And then it felt like in that last game specifically, well, really 2 games ago, it felt like you guys really were getting hurt by a lot of, you know, swing passes from one side of the wing to the other that created a lot of open threes. And then it felt in that last game that the stunting and recovering was a lot better. And just the overall ball pressure playing up the line was better. Have you guys realized maybe there are certain things that are kind of night and day when you win versus when you lose, and you know, how is that kind of identification process and working those out?
Yeah, we were not happy at when we played at Las Vegas with points in the paint. That's a team that likes being in the paint. We know they like being in the paint, and they were in the paint all game, all night at will, and we were really disappointed in that. So going into the first Indiana game, that was kind of our priority. We almost did it a little bit too much. We kind of like overcompensated, but we'd rather that than, you know, giving up layups and getting to the foul line for a team that also likes to be in the paint, not as much as Vegas, obviously, but they do like, their guards are ball dominant, like to get in the paint, like to get to the rim. And then the second Indiana game, we kind of were better at when do we help, not over helping, not giving up open threes to Victoria Vivians, who's can get hot from three. Kelsey Mitchell obviously is a great 3-point shooter. So we kind of found that balance in that second game, and we were able to pressure the ball, getting denial passes, and not over helping so much and giving up so many threes. So we kind of found that happy medium in the second game, and hopefully we can continue that. But yeah, it's kind of game to game in terms of scouting what teams like to do, but our identity is definitely keeping teams out of the paint.
Thanks, Bridget.
Cool, thank you.
It's interesting though.